Hello everyone, it's Dragana at Saacibo. Welcome back to my channel. This is another junk journal inspiration video and today's topic is marbling. In the previous video, we've learned how to marble papers using acrylic paints. You can find the link to this video in the description box below and you're welcome to check it out and learn the technique if you haven't done so already. In this video, I won't be making anything. Instead, I will share 10 really cool ideas on what you can marble and then use in your junk journals. So let's start with the first most obvious one, plain paper. When I say plain paper, I mean paper that hasn't been printed on. It's either white or in any other color, but with nothing else. I have a few examples here that I've done recently. I haven't shown you these ones in any of the videos. I've been experimenting using different types of paper, such as copy paper, sketchbook paper, printer paper, marbling paper, watercolor papers, and so on. I've also experimented using colored cardstock and I had a lot of fun doing that as well. I've played with different color combinations and different tools. I even made some of the tools myself. This was really a lot of fun. And I'm so happy that I've ended up with a lot of papers that I can use in my junk journals to make things, to bind them in, and so on. Here is one that I've done on the paper from the paper bag. So brown paper is also great. You just use black and white like I've done here. And the paper is brown, you end up with a really beautiful marbled paper. Love that. Then I have some here on the green cardstock, on the red. This is something I've been experimenting with using metallic paints on colored cardstock. Here I have one on the purple paper, then white metallic paint on the black paper, and so on. And here are some of my cleanup papers, the papers that I use to clean up what's left after taking an initial print. And I've ended up with some really cool designs and I love using these in my junk journals. So most of us, when we think of marbled papers, we think about the old books like this one here from the 1940s and how sometimes they have marbled papers on the cover, sometimes on the inside, sometimes on the outside. And here you can see the example of using marbled papers on the inside of the cover. These are just journal covers, no signatures yet. I love how they look in the journals. Then, of course, I like to use these papers as pages in my journals. I have my nautical journal here. I've used some marbled papers. This one was done on watercolor paper. Here's the other side. Works really well in this signature because of that purple color and it's predominantly blue and purple. So a lovely addition to the journal. This one in particular works really well because the colors are light or pastel. I can still write or even draw and stamp on this page. Got one more in this one, which is that one there. And this is a printable version of my marbled paper. And that's the other side. This one is great as it is, or perhaps to glue some things on top. I wouldn't necessarily write on it because the colors are a bit more strong and saturated, but I love looking at it. You could also make a whole journal using just marbled papers. Wouldn't that be fun? I haven't attempted, maybe one day. That would be a lot of fun, I think, to have just marbled papers in a journal. Apart from using these papers as pages, you can make elements for your journals. I have an example here of a belly band made from marbled paper, that one there. I've just decorated with this paper flower. The colors work well with the page here. Really great addition, especially when you have those colorful marbled papers, the ones that perhaps you won't be able to really write on top. Over here, I've created a side pocket with one of the cleanup papers. I've just added a butterfly and this fussy cut here and it's a great little addition. Adds interest to the journal. It's not too much, just enough. So apart from making elements and pages, you can make all sorts of ephemera from these papers. We can create almost anything that we would create with regular paper or scrapbooking paper, with one main difference. These papers, they are unique, they are one-off, and you can never make two that are the same. Even if you use the same colors, they will never be the same. They will always end up looking different. So let's have a look at some examples. I have this little bag. This was a brown paper bag that I marbled, and then I used it to create this little bag, and it would look great even as a pocket inside of the journal. Love it. And I've used some of the freebies from the previous videos to decorate it. Then over here I have a little envelope that I like to store my specimens inside. So this paper was a cleanup paper actually, and I've used the part that looked good to create this little envelope. And over here I've used another cleanup paper to create this type of envelope or a little bag with a flap. I simply glued this little collage on top to cover the area that wasn't looking so good, let's say, and then I've decorated it with a charm. And over here I have another cleanup paper, and I've created this envelope with some samples. These are all samples from marbled papers that I had left. The heart is also a leftover piece from that paper. I hardly ever waste any of these papers. Almost everything gets used. As you can see here, there was a small piece left. I created a tab or a tag topper. And on the back, I've glued this image over the areas of the paper that weren't so good. And since we're talking about that image, that's the new freebie on my website. Link is down below. It is free. No need to register or leave your name or any of your details. Just grab it. Actually, I will try to have a freebie at least once a week for you. So check it out from time to time to see if there's anything new. And what do we have here? We have a paper bag with a marble paper. It's that one there that I've drawn over with marker. So if the prints are pale, or if it's a cleaner paper, you can always draw on top with your pencils or your markers. They are great background papers. You can also stamp on these papers. I really love this one. I stamped this lighthouse on top of a marbled paper. This was actually cleaner paper. As you can see, it really looks like a cleaner paper. It even has my fingerprints on. So it didn't really look that beautiful. It didn't even have a certain pattern, maybe a little bit here. But once you cut it out and stamp something on top, it looks really good. Then over here I have another cleanup paper that actually turned out really nice. I've used only white and black, and I've created a little pouch decorated with this collage that I already had made. And I love storing my faux old photographs inside. Love that freebie too. And then over here I've created some gift tags in the shape of a heart. Little tags that perhaps I can write a thank you or add to a gift. Had to make some coin charms with the leftover pieces. Perhaps I can glue some words or letters or numbers, or I can just leave them like this. They're really nice. I think almost look like marbles. I had to make a flower, one of those easy peasy flowers with some leftover pieces. And look at this. Even paper beads look really cool when you make them with your leftover pieces of marbled papers. Most of junk journalists I know love to reuse old papers. So not just plain white or colored papers. You can use any paper you can think of, whether it's book pages, music sheets, magazines, newspapers, even scrapbooking paper that you don't like, maps, old maps, whatever you can think of, and you might end up with some really cool designs. I have a few examples here. This is my favorite. Music sheet and then this pale pastel-y looking print on top. Really love it. This one is more colorful but also very nice, really vintage looking. I love this one too. As you can see, I cut it up already. I've used some of it and I'll show you examples in a second. And if you happen to have some really large book pages like I have here, this is from some sort of encyclopedia. It's really technical, but love that. Love this one as well. Okay, I have a few examples of the things I made with these papers. Here's a bag made with this paper. Then I have two little baggies made with marble book pages, and I've used some freebies to decorate. Here's a printable version of my marble papers from a few years ago. Great little tag. I have an example here in one of my old Christmas journals. I've created these little tags, and as you can see here, there's a marble paper on top of music sheet. It's a printable version. I don't have the original anymore. Hope you can see. Idea number 3 is coloring books. I wish I thought of this when I've done that video on coloring books a few months ago, but doesn't matter, I'm sharing it now. You can quickly color a coloring book page using marbling technique. I have a page that I took from this book about animals, and I've used marbling technique on it. The black stayed dominant. I also have this one here with the fish. I've tried to add lighter colors in the middle where the fish is and a bit more blue and green and white around. And I really love this one. It turned out so good with a dragonfly and a really pale print around. I can still color in the details, but basically the background is done. I have an example here of the freebie that I offer on my website. I printed it just in black, and then I used the marbling technique on top. So I can now cut out these butterflies or even use it as a page in a journal. I think black and white printables are so versatile. You can really customize them just by coloring or even dyeing the papers with just coffee. I've also done the same with this one, and then I cut out some of these butterflies from the other half of that page. So great way to quickly color these and then cut them out to use as decoration. Over here I have used one of these butterflies to decorate a bag. Got some leftover pieces of these marbled papers stored inside, so love this. I think I'm going to be doing more and more of these in the future. Another idea that I came up with is using this marbling technique on top of my eco prints. 2 years ago, we've done a video on creating eco prints with the press method using Sizzix or any other sort of press. And I really love these prints. They look great as they are on just white background. And I remembered that I experimented coloring some with coffee. And that made them look even richer. And then I thought, why don't I just use marbling technique on some? And obviously I took the ones that I wasn't very happy with to test them out to see if there's going to be a big change on the print. So I've tried on that one first. And then I've tried this one and I absolutely loved it, because there was quite a lot of white space around and it didn't really look that exciting before. I love it more now. And then I tried with some stronger colors and I love how this one turned out. It looks almost like a shadow of these leaves. Now the paint took over a little bit more because it was a pale eco print, but what I'm thinking, I could actually go and do a bit of drawing on top of these and make it really, really special. And I've tried on this one that had a really striking print of strawberry leaves with lots of black because I used rust on top of the print, and then I washed it off, and I love how it turned out. It was a great way to add a bit of color and interest to my eco prints, and I think they would look great in my journals like so. Apart from paper, any sort of printed paper or plain paper, you can use marbling technique that I've shown you in the previous video on cardboard. I had to try using it on corrugated cardboard. I did end up with some areas that were not covered in paint because of the air bubbles underneath, but nonetheless, I love how it turned out. Then I used some regular packaging material like this one. It looks like craft paper, but a little bit thicker. And I used metallic white with black. I love the result. And on this one, I used some gold and metallic white. Love it too. And this is just a chipboard. The back of a sketch pad, for example, would have a piece of chipboard. And then I printed with metallic white and blue and a bit of black and silver. Paper is already gray color. It turned out really good. And chipboard is quite absorbent, so it did take a lot of paint, and I love how it looks. I have this one with light pink and metallic white with a bit of black. This was just a cleanup phase, so I ended up with the lighter looking print, but I really love it. And then this one, also love it. This one turned out so good. Pink and green with a bit of metallic white on top of this gray created beautiful, beautiful effect. And I just had to cut some to make these tags. Then I used the latest freebie to decorate, and I left these plain, and I'll think about if I want to add anything. I just love the pattern here, and the colors turned out so beautiful. This one was made from another one of these that were done on this packaging paper. Another idea that involves recycled material, and I love these, is to marble envelopes. Why not? I receive my bills in these window envelopes, and I have a lot of them. And at first I started using them as cleanup papers when I was marbling, but then I ended up with some really cool looking ones, so I thought maybe I can explore this further and actually do a full-on print like I've done in this case here. It covered almost everything that was on the envelope before, and I simply wiped off this with wet wipe. But you don't have to, you can also leave it. I've wiped it off from here and I left it on here, and it stayed, but if I add even a drop of water, it will erase. And I've also tried some on the larger envelopes. These were new, they were not recycled, but anyway, I just had to make a few of the envelope pockets. I love creating these. This is one of the first ones I've tried on. I used it to clean up my marbling liquid, and I ended up with a really cool print over here. This one as well. Love this pale blue and green color. Here I have another one. I just created a little tuck spot in this tag with the latest freebie, and I think it worked really well here with these colors. I've used some washi tape, so it turned out really good. With a minimum decoration, it looks really nice. A great way to color these quickly and end up with a really unique looking envelopes. As I was experimenting and exploring of things I can marble using this technique, I came across a canvas pad. This one. Pure cotton canvas with acrylic gesso. It says suitable for oil and acrylic painting. I thought I just have to try, and I loved it. It really took the paint well. It does take a little bit more of practicing because I ended up with some white areas, or perhaps I didn't pay attention. There must have been an air bubble in the liquid. but I'm so happy with it. And I haven't made anything from these, but I was thinking of making some pouches, and they would also make great journal covers, won't they? Love this one and that one. Unfortunately, it has some white areas, but that's easily covered. If I decide to make a journal cover, I can add some decorations there. It's definitely something worth exploring more. You're gonna love this idea. I just had to try marbling fabrics. When I decided to do the experiments, I've tried with all sorts of fabrics just to see which one works really well and which one doesn't work, perhaps. I've tried it on this lacy fabric. This was from an old curtain. It colored it, it worked, but you can't really tell the pattern because there's a lot of holes, obviously. Nonetheless, it was a quick way to color the fabric. Then I tried on fabric from a sample book. This was also some sort of thin fabric made for curtains, I think, and I loved it. I can definitely use that part to add to my journal. Then I thought I'll try some on denim. I had this light denim and look, it worked. But I must say these thin sheer fabrics, I'll have to put them like this on the white so that you can see better, because they are silky, but they're not silk. They're synthetic fabrics, also used for curtains. Nonetheless, they took the paint so well, maybe because the weave is really dense, and I loved it. So great way to color some of the plain sheer fabrics that you might have and then create flowers and ruffles or whatever you like to create with these fabrics. Then I had a piece of this silky fabric. I think it's also synthetic, but it's like a silk, synthetic silk or something like that. Also, it worked so well. Love this one. Great to make perhaps little pockets in the journal or even a journal cover. I really love it. Beautiful. And then of course I had to experiment with some plain cotton. Okay, love the vintage look of these. I had one more that I've used for this cover. Okay, so there were 3 and then I used one to create this cover. After I printed these, I would let them dry. Once they were dry, I would rinse them in cold water and then iron them. And I have to say, hardly any paint washed off. Most of it stayed. The only fabrics that ended up being lighter than the original after washing were the ones that were done on cotton, and I haven't used alum or anything, just fabrics as they are. Really love that journal cover there. Marbled fabric on the outside and a marble paper on the inside, and even some marbled parts as a decoration. And then over here I used this fabric. This is also some sort of silky fabric for dresses. It was in dark green, so I used black and white, and I've ended up with that really cool pattern, and I had to turn it into a little journal. Really love how it turned out. Before then, it was just one color plain fabric that I didn't really know what to do with, but now it looks really vintage. Marbling makes everything look vintage. I love it. This is just another small piece of some fabric that I've marbled and I cut into a flower shape. And then some other small pieces of these fabrics I used to cover these buttons. Fabric buttons. Love these buttons. Not only that you can marble fabric, you can marble lace and ribbons, and I tried and I loved the results. Have a look at these examples. Over here I've used it on this synthetic thin lace. Because the lace had a lot of holes, it's that sort of design, you can't really tell that it was marbled. It looks more as it was just dyed in different colors. Now this one, the cotton one, looks really vintage. I've used that lace. Okay, it looks very vintage, but you can see some of the designs here in that area where there's not a lot of embroidery. And then over here on this one, it worked even better. I think this is not 100% cotton, that's why it worked a bit better. You can see the embroidery here, but you can also see the design. I had some of that satin ribbon in white, and it just worked better than it worked on paper, almost like silk printing. So crisp and so vivid. It's amazing. Nothing washed off. It just took the paint so well. Really love it. This would be great to use in a journal as pockets, as belly bands. So on satin ribbon worked really well. And then I have some of this lovely lace. This is a gift from one of my viewers, from Linda. I love this lace as it is. I thought I'll sacrifice a little bit, and I'm glad I did, because look, the weave was really dense. You can see the marbling pattern here where the flat part is really well. You can use these laces to decorate your journals, to create flowers and so on. I used a little piece of that to cover these two buttons. Marbling lace and ribbons is a lot of fun. I wish I had more time to marble more of the laces and ribbons I have. I have a lot of just white. And we're down to the last two. You probably guessed. You can marble plain wooden beads. Okay, you can use them to decorate journals or to make jewelry. Up to you. I've added a layer of varnish on top of them to make them a little bit more shiny, but some of the designs are so cool. Love that one. This one's cool too. And these were just for testing. I didn't really set out to color them. I just thought of it then and there, so you can see the difference. This is what they looked like before they were marbled. Okay, and now they're nice and colorful. All right, and the last idea is you can marble the buttons. I have tried on regular buttons, and I have to say the paint didn't stick well to them. But when I tried with wooden buttons such as these, it worked so well. Porous material like untreated wood works really well. And I'm so much happier with these buttons now, because I really didn't like the designs on this side. Okay, but I guess if I really want to, I can still use the other side, but I think I prefer this. And I have a lot of them with such designs that I'm not really that keen on, and I could marble them in different colors so they can be really unique. Even these buttons in the shape of a butterfly, I could marble them as well. Although I don't mind, this side here looks all right, but if I wanted to, I could marble them. These are all the ideas I could come up with. I'm sure there are more. If you think of something else and you don't mind sharing, share it in our Facebook group, Crafting with Saacibo. The link is down below. I hope you found this video inspirational. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you soon in the next one. Bye for now.